I am on page 601. There's like 5 or 6 paragraphs there with a bunch of vocab words. Go ahead and pause the video and read those words for me on page 601. Okay, so hopefully you're back, and we're going to look at example 1 down at the bottom of 601 together, which is which you can see are these two circles here for A and B. And then there's 3 things that the instructions ask us to do. It says name the red arc, identify the type of arc, and then find its measure. So we're going to answer these 3 questions for this circle. We're going to answer these 3 questions for this circle. Okay? So let's start by naming it. All right, let's start by naming it. So again, we're looking at the red arc. Okay, so an arc is just a part of a circle, and we're just talking from this part, so we can call it 2 things. We can call it DF, right? And this is kind of like an arc on top. It's not a line. Or we can call it, that's supposed to say or, or we could do it backwards and say FD with the arc symbol on top. Okay, so that's how we named this. And if we did the same, we'll do the same thing for this one, but we'll get there in a second. Okay, so let's just stay on this circle first. Okay, so the type, we have 2 types of arcs. We have a minor arc and a major arc. Okay, and so they're pretty simple. Minor just means it's less than 180 degrees, and major means it is larger than 180 degrees. And 180 degrees we know is a line, right? So if we have a line through a circle, let's look up here. If we had a line, right, like this line went all the way through, this would be a diameter. Okay, so a diameter is half the circle. It's 180 degrees of the circle. And most of us know that circles are 360 degrees. So minor arc, right, the type is less than 180. So obviously this one, this red arc doesn't go past the diameter. So this is a minor arc. Okay. Now the last thing you should have read in there was, or one of the last things was how to measure arcs. Okay, so the measure of an arc is the same. Okay, so this is how many degrees, all right, because the whole circle is 360. So how many degrees is this part of the circle? Well, this angle, and it's called angle DEF, that's what I'm talking about. So angle DEF, this angle right here, is known as a central angle. Okay, and we've talked about that plenty of times before. So this part's pretty easy. The measure of this arc is equal to the measure of the central angle that it belongs to. So if this is 40 in here, DF is 40. So the measure of this arc is 40 degrees. Okay, so let's do the same thing, but let's do it on part B on the right. Okay? Remember, we're doing the red arc, so this one goes over here. Okay, so here's the tricky part. I want to start with part 2. So it says what type of arc. If I made a diameter here, right, this would be 180 degrees. You can see that this is obviously larger than the diameter, right? This is larger than half the circle. So we will call this a major arc. Okay, so minor is less than 180. Major is greater than 180. Okay, now the reason I started here first is because we name them differently. All right, so look over here. You see how we have 2 letters for a minor arc? For a major arc, we use 3 letters, and that's an easy way to tell if it's a minor or a major. How many letters does it use? So let's start. We can either start at N or L. Let's start at N. Okay. So N, we need 3 points. M stops at L. So N, M, L. That also tells us how to move. If you go back to this example, FD, we could technically go FD, but that's obviously larger than 180. And we would have to call it FGD, right? Because it's major, we'd have to have 3 points. So this one was just 2. It just means we're going from D to F, the quickest way possible. This way, instead of saying NL, we have to call it NML. What else we could call it? We could go the other way, LMN. All right. Okay, so the last question is, what's the measure of NML? How many degrees is it from over here? Well, we're going to have to kind of work backwards. We can see that this angle right here, LKN, this angle, is 110 degrees, which means this black arc, or blue now, is 110 degrees, right? They're the same. Well, we know that a circle is 360 degrees. So if we say 360 minus 110, it will tell us what the red part is. So I think if you do that math, 360 minus 110, you should get 250 degrees. And just as a reminder, do you see this big giant angle? It's longer than 180. See how it's going past the line? It's huge. This ginormous angle right here all the way is 250 degrees because the arc was 250 degrees. So the arc here is 250. Okay, let's go over a page to 602. We're going to try example 2 here. And I'm altering this one a little bit. They only asked for one thing, which I think was the measure. Remember, we measure arcs in degrees. The measure of GEF, and this is it's a arc over here in this circle. But I've added a couple other ones just to get good at practicing these things. So that's why you won't see these 3 in your book on 602. But see how there's 3 letters? That means this is a major arc. It means it's larger than 180. We have 2 letters. It's a minor arc, right? It's less than 180. So this is also minor and this is major. So let's keep that in mind. The little m here just means the measure, right? So it's asking for the measure of arc GEF, right? So let's find. Here's G. Remember, we have to go all the way through E to F. So we go G from here, all the way to E, all the way to F. All right, so it's asking how many degrees is it from there all the way to there. So it's pretty simple. Hopefully you guys have figured it out. This is 40, this is 80, this is 110. So if this angle is 40 degrees, GH should be 40 degrees. If this angle is 80, HE is 80, right? The arc is equal to the central angle. And if this is 110, FE is 110. All right, so all 3 of these arcs are minor arcs because they're less than 180. But we want GEF, we want the whole thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to add these 3 together. Okay, so if you do that in your calculator, 40 plus 80 is 120. 120 plus 110 should be 230. So GEF is 230 degrees. Okay, these are the 3 that I've just kind of made up. So let's look at GF. Remember, this is a not the same as GEF, right? So GEF came this way. If it's G to F, we go the shortest way possible, which is from here to here. Okay, so a couple of options here. But let's just stay with what we know. We've used 230. We said this purple part is 230. Well, the rest of the circle is this blue part, the GF, which is what we're looking for, right? We know the whole circle is 360. So if we say 360 minus 230, it has to give us what GF is, right? Because that's the rest of the circle. So 360 minus 230 should give us 130. So arc GF is 130, right? Because this part plus that part is 360. Now remember, since this arc is 130, what is this angle right here? Yep, that's also 130. Okay, so it's just nice for us to know. And if you add up all 4 of these angles, it will add to 360, just like the 4 arcs add to 360. Okay, let's look at EG. Remember, we're going to go the fastest way there for EG. So where's E? There's G. So instead of going this way, right, that would be a major arc. See how that's longer than 180? I know it needs to be a minor arc because there's 2 letters, so we're going to go from E. And even though we're skipping H, we're not going to say EHG because that would mean it's a major arc, right? We just went from here to here. So this part is 80. What's this part? 40. So 40 plus 80 is 120. So EG is 120 degrees. Last part here. I'm going to try to use green. There we go. It's a fine point, so it might look funny. EFG, remember, is not the same as EG. This is major because there's 3 letters, so it should be larger than 180. E, F, G. That's going from here. All right, and I'm going to kind of through F, and it's going to come all the way around. Try to use green so you can see the different colors here, right? So it's going from here all the way around to there. So let's add the parts. 110, 130, 110 plus 130 is 240, right? So this is 240 degrees, and like we said, major arc should be larger than 180. A minor arc should be less than 180. So 3 letters is larger than 180, 2 letters is less than 180. All right, guys, I have a couple problems I'd like you to try. Please go to page 604. Go to 604 for me. I want you to try problem 5, 7, and 9. Just a couple of problems here. You're looking at measures of the arcs. And remember that the measure is how many degrees. So if you have any questions, go ahead and drop it in the comments. If not, I'll see you guys back here tomorrow. Good luck.